Well, advertising is obviously following flexible viewing. So one of the greatest growth areas in media at the moment is online video, where Channel 4 is actually a market leader and where we're seeing a lot of growth. So we are seeing advertisers moving to where video is moving online. But in addition to that, it's worth keeping in context. I think the phrase relic may prove to be correct a decade or two from now, but actually if you look at the figures right now, less than 3% of all viewing is on demand, and it's predicted to rise to about 15 to 20% by 2020. So it's a process that's sort of under control, as it were, and it's known, and it's where the advertising models are evolving alongside the changes in technology and viewing behaviour. Well, one of the things about television is its ability to reach millions of people very quickly. Even Channel 4, which is regarded, I suppose, as a sort of large niche channel, and always has never been the mass market leader, comfortably can reach 2 or 3 million people in the heart of peak time, 10 million people in the course of a week. And therefore, that ability to reach large numbers of people quickly is something advertisers will value and pay for in the future. And to replicate that online without the use of television is actually still very hard. Well, we have multiple stakeholders. We're effectively owned by the public. We're overseen by the DCMS and by Ofcom. We have a non-executive board. And our measures of success really are primarily, as I'll talk about this evening, in maximising the amount of money we spend on UK-originated content. I mean, that was pretty much the reason why we were formed 30 years ago. And this year, at the end of 2012, we spent £600 million on content, and nearly 440 million of that was on UK-originated content. So we're still a very big engine. And because we don't produce any programmes in-house, that means that money's going into the pockets of creative entrepreneurs up and down the country. And the work that they do is diverse, high quality, wins many awards, and effectively provides the viewer with a kind of programme that is different from the rest of commercial television and has a different angle than what the BBC does. And partly that's because we're independent. Our independent funding model gives us an independence of editorial voice. Well, probably they fall into 3 areas. One, competition is much greater in television than it was 30 years ago. We have 500 channels. The pay platforms, Sky, Virgin in particular, and now coming BT, are much bigger organisations than we are. They've got deep pockets and they can afford programme rights in areas like sports and movies that we can't afford. So there are certain things we can't compete directly in. That's one set of challenges. Clearly, the globalisation of media, primarily around the internet, is also a force that a UK-only operator has to contend with. Google's revenues in the UK dwarf that of ITV and Channel 4. Sky's revenues dwarf that now of the BBC. So the environment has changed quite fundamentally, and therefore, where can we compete? We can compete in innovation and finding new talent, which is really at the heart of our remit. Using the tools that are now available to us in terms of online registration through the on-demand platform that we have, and also through various new ways of measuring audience behaviour, we are able to have a much more direct relationship with the viewer than ever before. And in fact, during the course of the last 18 months, we have attracted nearly 7 million people to register with Channel 4, which, if you think about it, we could only really know of our audience before through inference, through what was called the Barb measurement system, that it was in 5,000 homes. And now when we look at the viewing behaviour, we're actually seeing it in millions of people interacting with us on a daily basis. Well, the question is often asked, is this move into a sort of big data, as it's called, is it a way of sort of replacing the need for commissioners to be strong, have a strong creative point of view and a strong creative vision? To which I always say, of course not. We still need to be led by creative instincts. But what it can do is bring the audience's response to the work closer to the commissioning folk, and also allow us to transact the value of our audience differently with advertisers and with ad agencies. Well, as a self-funded but not-for-profit organisation, of course, revenue is, you know, the more revenue we make, the more we can spend on the screen, the more we fulfil our remit. But what's interesting about our not-for-profit model is effectively what would be profit becomes creative risk. So we can afford to do the Channel 4 news or experimental comedy and drama, which may not be highly profitable, because effectively we are subsidizing it from parts of our schedule that generate a profit. So why do we have popular lifestyle programs on Channel 4? Because people watch them in large numbers, they're economic to make, they deliver a surplus, and we can then spend that on doing other things. And so there's a cross-subsidy within the schedule. And at the end of the year, we don't get measured on the level of the margin, we get measured on the delivery of the public value that is effectively in our remit. Well, that's at the absolute heart of how we're measured. I mean, and if you look at our remit, you know, we are encouraged to spend a certain proportion of our money outside the M25, in the nations, in the regions, with new talent that has never had an opportunity to be on TV before. And all of these things have to be manifested in our annual report. But of course, if we were to do only that and not worry about Come Dine With Me and acquiring American shows that are popular, which we also do, then the model wouldn't balance out at the end of the year. So the creative team that I work with, really their core responsibility is to get that balance right. And of course, it's never perfect. Quite often we're either criticised for, you know, being too obscure or being too populist. And in an ideal world, we will do shows which are popular but will be thought-provoking and will, you know, help to create change in society, which is part of our remit. As a referee, certainly, you know, when you're pushing boundaries, and we're encouraged to push boundaries, we will cross the line from time to time. And I personally think it's strong to have an independent regulator rather than some other institutions that have oversight from within their own governance, which can get confusing. So Ofcom are our regulator. When we cross the line and people complain, they separately adjudicate, and you know, sometimes they say we got things wrong, and then we have to absorb the consequences of that and move on. Well, I think the thing of which I'm proudest so far as a single piece of programming was the Paralympic Games. I mean, it's an incredible thing to be part of. Scary, huge, but ultimately amazingly fulfilling for the entire team. And the research that we've got suggests that we did help to change the attitudes of a nation towards disability. And hopefully we can continue doing that in the years ahead. From a business point of view, Channel 4 was very reliant on Big Brother for 10 years. And what we have done in the last 2 years is to make the schedule more diverse in more genres, and we're winning more awards for more things at the moment, because I think we are recognised for more than simply one show, which is often the danger of a TV network that's reliant on a hit. It's a difficult thing to move on from, and it's painstaking, but it is a process that we have been on for the last 2 years. And then finally, I think this getting closer to viewers through registration, through audience data, which allows us to support the advertising proposition in the marketplace. Well, it comes back to how you deliver the remit. You know, Channel 4 is there for a reason, and people expect it to do programming that will provoke and create change. But to provoke just for the sake of it isn't enough. There has to be a purpose to what we do. Why are we asking the audience to think differently about an issue or to be entertained in a new way? So the mission is about purpose. The mischief is really, you know, we're Channel 4 and we're not there to do things in the conventional way. If we don't do things differently, people will question why we exist, and so we're constantly trying to do things in new ways.